Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I'm expecting we'll probably have a few other folks joining us, but let's start with, and I'm going to share my screen. Hold on just 1 second. Let's go to our question, which is all-time favorite movie and why. And I will hand it to Bear 100 to start.
Thank you, Senior Bear. Well, if you did three, I'll do two. So, favorite movie off the top of my head would be Shawshank Redemption, because that's an amazing film and it's about hope, extraordinary circumstances. So that would be one. And the second movie would be The Secret of Nim, which is a film from when I was a child. They don't make cartoons like that anymore, and there's a scene in the beginning of it where the mother is feeding the son who is sick, and it makes me cry every time. And I think it makes me think of my mom. So yeah. And pass to LBS.
I'm sure that in a few minutes I'll have a different answer, but I'll throw out the one that came to me first. I was just talking to my friend this morning about how much I love Singing in the Rain when I was a kid. It was just one of my favorites. Um, Also, on the other end of that spectrum, I love Fight Club. And then anything made by Miyazaki, hands down. Just any Miyazaki film, I will watch it with you. I love it so much, a million times over. I'll pass to Costa.
I also love Miyazaki. I think Nausicaa is one of my favorites of Miyazaki. But my all-time favorite has to be Amelie. It's to me the best love story ever. Introverted, loving the small things in life and constructing a relationship through a complicated process. But it's magical to me. I'll pass it to Manu.
Yeah, for me, hi everyone. Yeah, for me, for sure, The Fountain. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It is just such a beautiful film about three stories and how they somehow get interconnected by the desire of this hero to save um, in one the life of her beloved woman, or the reign, the kingdom, and in other life as a whole. I don't know. It's just it's larger than life. It's just one of those stories. Anyway, that's what I can say about that. I'm a little bit. I've had like 5 onboarding calls this weekend because I was not here, so I'm like a little bit confused. But I will pass it to. I don't know who's gone. I'll pass it to Yuki.
Do you want to pass it to Tam? She hasn't gone.
Okay, Tam.
I haven't gone. I thought it was easy, and then while I was waiting, I just came up with like 40 different movies. Okay, maybe like 5 different movies. But my first reaction is The Princess Bride, because I just think there's no better movie ever. It's eminently quotable. It's such a cute story, so well acted, just fabulous in every way. But then it's like things that make me laugh. Obviously, kind of my favorite movies, like The Big Lebowski, Office Space, like things that have like punchy lines that you just find like you're saying these lines, right? Because they're appropriate in real life. And then because Jean, you said things that make you cry. The one movie that always makes me cry, it's more of I guess it's more of a video of it, is like La Traviata. That makes me cry every time. I stopped watching it because but these are all things that I could watch over and over and over again. But I stopped watching La Traviata because it just makes me cry. So, and I'll pass to Olivia because I feel like you haven't gone yet.
Thank you. What is the question? What's your all-time favorite movie? First one that comes to my mind is Pina. It's spelled Pian, is the movie of this German dancer, and it's directed by Wim Wenders, who is an artist that he makes the best documentaries. It doesn't feel like a documentary, it's just an art piece. And he was a very good friend of Pina, and he was waiting for the 3D technology to make a film about her. And in the year that he was with everything ready to make the film, she died. And then they made this masterpiece with her dance company. And I watched like countless times. It's so beautiful and inspiring in so many ways. And I'll pass. I think I was the last one. Late.
Yeah, I'll go because thank you. These are so great, and actually, you can see that I'm butchering spellings left and right. So, and also I forgot to take notes for the first couple of people. So if you can, like Bear 100 and Costa, I think I got yours, and Jean, I didn't. You had one other one. So anyway, if you guys can add those in, that'd be great. Mine are okay. The one that's kind of like I still love the show though is The Matrix. I just love that. I love the kind of multiple layers of reality and myth and stuff that's built into that movie. It's still great. And then the other one that Livia, you made me think of is a Wim Wenders movie. It's Until the End of the World. And not everybody's seen that movie, but it's awesome. It's basically about these folks who come up with this technology to be able to see into dreams, and it explores like what would that actually do to people if they could actively see their dreams. Not always such a great thing, actually. So, okay, Roger showed up, but I think he's gone now. So we will move on, and thank you for playing. And let's go to the next thing. Okay, so you'll see in the document, but I'm going to actually just put a link to this in our in the Discord. So what I've done is set up a little collaboration space for us to answer a question together. So hopefully you can get into that link, and please feel free to let me know if you're having problems getting into that or understanding what the heck this is. This is a document that in FigJam, which is like a Figma kind of offshoot of Figma, and it's specifically geared for helping teams come together and like jam on stuff, like brainstorm like this. So what I wanted to do today, so let's see, I'm trying to see who is anybody having problems getting in. First of all, just let me know. Let's do it this way. Just raise your hand or tip your mic on and off real quick. Are you in? Is everybody in? Because I can't really tell. Yeah. And Olivia, I see you're in there too. Okay. And welcome back, Roger. if you look in the text channel in the Communitas text channel in our Discord, you'll see a link that's to a document. So it looks like everybody's kind of like already doing this, grabbing. So the first step is basically take one of those little ovals at the top and just put your name in it. You know, pick a color and put your name in it. And before you don't do the notes by grabbing the notes that I've done on the left. Go down to the bottom and you'll see that there's like some little sticky notes down there. You can, if you see my cursor, you'll see that there's like some little sticky notes down there. Pick a color, like by doing this thing, pick a color, and then that's, you know, close to your color, and then just add sticky notes from that. Because that way it'll keep your name attached to the sticky note. Does that make sense? And again, this is the first time we're doing this, so feel free to ask questions. Now's a great time to ask questions. I just want to make sure everybody's on board while we're doing this. Looks like everybody's getting it. Okay, so the question then, now some of you are already getting into it, but the question is, in your experience, what information is most important to know when joining the TEC? Could be anything, but it's like really try to put yourself back into those early days and you're just coming in. For some of you, this will be harder because you've been here so long, but if you can, try to imagine what it's like just showing up and you're here, you've just been dumped into a Discord server, and what is this thing?
And that's within the context of these questions that are on the left, or just anything at all?
No, the questions on the left are really just me trying to give some directions on how to actually do this, but it's really that purple one at the top.
Yep.
In your experience, what information is most important to know when joining the TEC? So we're going to go for another between 5 and 10 minutes. So you have a little bit of time here. I would encourage you to just try to really try to put yourself back in that state if you can, of what that's like, you know, being here for the first time. Also, if you can, try to keep each idea limited to one sticky note. That way it'll be easier to kind of mix and match these. Welcome, Irene. I hope I'm saying your name right. Is that right?
It's Irene.
Irene. Sorry.
Yeah.
So welcome. We're doing a kind of a brainstorming session, and you probably won't have as much time as the other folks because we're kind of midway through it. But there's a link in the Discord Communitas text channel that is a link to a document. If you can, do you see that link?
I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
There you go, Figma.
Yeah, that's it. So just go ahead and click on that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And basically, you just like select, the purple or red oval that's, or whatever that is, rounded square at the top, and put your name there, and then go down to the bottom, and you'll see some sticky notes down here. You just pick a color that matches whatever color you pick, and then just start answering the question, which is, in your experience, what information is most important to know when joining the TEC?
Okay.
And we're going to go for about another 5 more minutes. And I'm going to leave this document up for a little bit after we're done here. So, Irene, if you would like to add to it later too, you can do that. So don't feel rushed right now, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
So am I going to be disqualified because I wasn't playing Jeopardy, or no answers left, no questions, or I chose affirmations versus questions, so we'll see how that goes.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We'll figure out how to. So let's start wrapping up here. So for next steps, what I'd like to do is, just because not everybody can think really like on the fly. Sometimes people need like a little bit of time to let a question stew. So I'm going to leave this up for like the rest of the day, and so feel free. I won't do anything else to this until like maybe this time tomorrow, or I might even wait until Edu gets back and the two of us actually jam on it. But what I'm seeing as next steps are to take this, and we did this last week. Livia was in a session with me while we were doing this for the new Sampo working group, and actually so was Manu, and so and so was Bear. So actually there was a pretty good chunk of us who were doing this. So we're gonna take this and then take this and kind of sort this, really like curate it is the way I would describe it, by taking all of these ideas that you're throwing in here, which are great. I'm already seeing stuff I never would have thought of myself. We're going to take all that and then just try to organize it a little bit. And with each step of the way, what I would like to try to do is, it's almost like having kind of like an auditing trail for the curation process, so that we keep this exactly as it is, so that the original input is there. Then we'll take the next step of like curating it, and that will also be a step that will stay here in this document. And then we'll take that and probably put that into another document to try to do something with it. And what that something is something that I still haven't, Edu and I have talked about this a little bit, but we haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do this. But there's a tool that's out there that is a really cool tool called Polis. And I was talking with Tam about this earlier today. It's kind of a way of, you take seed phrases like this and you put that into, it almost looks like a tweet. And at the top of the tweet, it says yes, no, agree, disagree, abstain. And so you allow people to kind of vote on their sentiments, like, does this resonate with you? And if you're going through this and you're like, God, none of these really resonate with me, you can also add your own new statement, right? So it kind of snowballs. And so this is a way for us essentially to kind of use this, the Communitas working group, as a way to seed the ideas and then grow those ideas of by expanding it out to some of the other working groups, and then actually vote on it. So that's the thing that Edu and I are going to be working on over this next week, is to see if we can kind of like pilot this. And LBS, yeah, looks like you've got a question.
Just a quick clarifying question. What is the meta purpose of gathering this information into a curated little section of community agreed statements?
I'm so glad you asked that. So what we're hoping to do, so if you recall, over the last couple of weeks, we've been kind of looking at this question of, what does it mean to be a member of the TEC? And one of the aspects of that is, well, is there kind of like a base level of knowledge that we would really want everybody who's a member to actually have, right? In order to be a TEC member, it's like, in order to, contribute to this commons, in order to use it, in order to govern it, what are kind of like the base level operating instructions that you really need to be able to know and able to be able to do that in a way that honors our mission. So that's kind of what we're looking at here, is like, okay, what is that kind of just the basic level information? And then this would then feed into probably some of the quizzes and tests that we're looking at building as kind of the next phase. Any other questions or comments or thoughts on that?
Quick comment that this is also just great fodder for onboarding stuff.
Yeah, you can already see like there's some really cool stuff in there. Like actually the thing about like how do I make friends here? Like we weren't that wasn't on our radar, but that's a really good question. That's something that people are, I'm sure, thinking about when they come in here, right? Okay. So that's kind of, I'm going to switch back to our, so last word on this is, feel free to come back and add more over the next 24 hours or so, if you're so inspired, and then we'll take it so that by next week we'll come back to you all with kind of like the curated version of this that you can all look at and say like, yeah, that didn't actually curate what I was trying to say, right? Or you can provide some feedback in the next step, which is the curation. Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch back over to our agenda, and so we've actually discussed most of what we're going to do with the results. What I'd like to do now is talk a little bit more openly, just like about the culture of the quiz is what I'm calling it, but I don't know, maybe there's another way to describe this. This is something that we've touched on in previous weeks, but I'm realizing is actually something I think we really need to get some clarity on. Is like, what's the spirit that we're bringing to this quizzing and testing of new members, right? You could say like, oh, this is going to be a very hardcore test and you have to pass this test or you're not getting in. Like that's like one extreme. It's like, like this means something and you got to pass it. And so I'll just add one more thing and then LBS, I'll come right back to you. Or the other side of it would be, oh, this is just a fun thing and we want you to have some fun. And, if you learn some stuff along the way, then that's great, right? And so we're trying to figure out, or maybe there's another dimension we're not even looking at, right? So that's what I wanted to open it up to the group here to kind of see, like, what are the dimensions we should be considering when we're thinking about quizzing people about their knowledge about the TEC, especially early on. LBS.
Yeah, whenever I'm asking myself these kinds of questions, one of my favorite clarifying questions is like, what is our purpose in making this? What is the problem we're trying to resolve? If the problem that we're trying to resolve is understanding what membership looks like, then that like impacts the culture of the quiz, if it's just to like have a thing where people can get engaged and have fun and like maybe learn some things, then like that impacts the culture of the quiz, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah. Anybody else? Tam, it looks like you're leaning in.
Yeah, I don't know how to frame it. I don't know. It's just something that popped up in my mind. I like the idea of it being, I mean, there's definitely some utility that we could probably look at like utility for it. But I like the idea of it being like entertainment. Like at the end you get a po-op, like just something fun and like lighthearted and like, I think that we can do something else, like unlock, if you get the answer, you unlock something. I like it being part of like this gamey, fun, and entertainment part of our onboarding. That's what popped up.
So, yeah, I concur with that. I was looking at the Quest application form from Gitcoin just as a mechanism to have an idea as to what this could look like. And even though there's no explicit requirement, typically the quests have just 3 questions. So they do award a kudos, which is minted on XDAI, so it's free to receive. And we could have a series of quizzes 101, 202, 303, and progress through. And you can go as far or as short as you want, and maybe it's after some arbitrary number, 3, 5, 10, who knows. You can receive a POAP on top of the kudos that you received, kind of as like a collective award. So that's just a thought. But yeah, that would be kind of fun. But then it could be as hardcore as you want to make it. You can go as deep as you want.
I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because one of the things that Edu and I have gone back and forth on, not like disagreeing, but we're trying to explore the edges of this, is there actually is some real benefit to allowing people to go deep if they want to go deep, and actually could be an important aspect of our reputation system. These things, if we do them right. But we've also been leaning heavily towards what you're saying too, Tam. Is like in the beginning, it could be real turnoff actually to come on too strong, and it just doesn't seem to vibe with our culture. So having it be something really fun and engaging and welcoming, maybe even having some ridiculous answers in there, as one of the options, right? Just to have some fun. So, LBS.
Yeah, I love the idea of playfulness and fun. Like that obviously just really meshes well with this community as it is. And then, yeah, kind of building on what Tam and Gideon were saying, just I think that there is kind of a like dangerous edge there of creating something that does like a gatekeepy thing. Like if your brain doesn't work in the way that the questions were made and you can't like get there, and then you don't get this like cultural affirmation, or you don't get access to a certain thing, then that can be kind of like a gatekeeping like force rather than like a fun thing that brings us all together. So it's just something to like watch out for as it gets built and like take feedback on.
Yeah, the greatest danger in this is alienating people, and so that's just the last thing we want to do. But the way to avoid that, is to, most of the quests that do work have tongue-in-cheek answers. There's three silly answers that are clearly not, so it's kind of, all you really have to do is participate. You get a trophy for participation in a way, but that's a good thing. In my opinion, it makes people feel good. You just get something. Maybe you don't have anything in your wallet. Maybe you don't have any money, and that's okay. So that's kind of what it is giving you something you can see in your XIL and be proud of and remember, and yeah. So
Yeah, it's like a community building tool through like the experience that you're sharing rather than a like measuring tool. At least at first.
There's always something I like to keep in mind. Just playing the advocate, the devil advocate. How can we not be so like the carrot is in the end of this pathway, like allow people to do things for the joy of doing the things they're doing, and I think that's why praise is a really good mechanism, because it's more of an unexpected reward, and like knowing that something is seeing what you're doing, and it's a little bit more organic. But I think the more I've been hearing that a lot in many places of the community of like, oh, let's give this prize for the thing. But sometimes this can like bite us in the ass.
Yeah, I have a thought to build on that. If done well, like you could create something where like, I'm kind of hearing that maybe one of the most important aspects of creating this in the first place is just to create more connection for people. And, maybe there's like one path to do that through doing a quiz and getting those little POAPs or those little like affirmations that connect you. But maybe there's like also a different way to do that that is like, a different side of the brain, or like there's like a couple different paths to like doing this, like, hey, we're engaging with each other, we're connecting with each other, we're learning with each other. And so you can kind of choose like which direction you go with it to get your little POAP. And then it's like, yeah, there's a carrot at the end of the stick, but at the same time, like the journey is more important than the destination, and like the actual journey is the true carrot. Was the friendship we found along the way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
This is great. This is really great. I want to make some space for others who maybe haven't said anything yet. Bear, Costa, Manu, Irene. Any thoughts?
I just want to comment, hi, that me being here is part of my effort of my onboarding. It's like I have been seeing the meetings that there are and the spaces, and I go like, okay, I want to hear what they're doing. It's like orienting myself. So I have been doing that. I didn't have the mental space or the time when I joined the DAO. I was like, okay, there it is. I don't know anything about it, but it's like a part of the process for me. It's like yeah, so I hear what you're doing, and so I try to make a mental map. That's the hardest part, to make a mental map of what's going on everywhere. So I'm trying to do that being here.
That's great. Thank you. You're probably not alone. I think a lot of people do that, drop into different working groups and just try to understand the overall vibe. Yeah.
And from my side, I agree with Tam that it's really important to have it be entertaining and avoid it being like a gatekeeping tool. But for the rest, that's all from me. In my experience, I felt welcome. I think I talked about it before, that I felt welcome by giving it like some small task to do. But that was my experience.
Great. I'm taking notes, but I'm also leaving space here for people to comment. You did. I think that's a great question. It's like, because this will be kind of like the welcome mat in a way. This will be some of the first things that people experience when they come in. If we do this right, anyways. I mean, there'll be other things that will be if you look at the bot as it exists today, we're pointing people to sources of information and things like that. But in the next steps, if we go down this path, then these kinds of questions will be some of the first, points of interaction. Like when somebody shows up in the, like any time of day, there won't be somebody there to welcome them. So these automated interactions will have potentially a huge impact. And then the next day, the welcomer will be there to kind of like make it more human. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. Is like, do we use these processes as a way of like attracting certain types of people who really will serve this mission, or will, I don't know what the, like, that's a really good question. Like, what's the criteria? Welcome, Paul. Paul, just to catch you up, you're in the Communitas call, and we are talking about kind of the onboarding process, and in particular, the types of information that people find most valuable when they first join the TEC.
Super. I didn't mean to interrupt. I know I'm very late here, so thank you for that.
Yep, sure. Any other thoughts that people have about this? I mean, it does seem like there's some kind of sort of consensus here, which is no gatekeeping. Like, don't use this as a way to like suddenly slip in a gatekeeping into what is a permissionless organization. Don't make it permissioned, right? Also, don't rob people of their intrinsic motivation, right? Don't accidentally, don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg by like focusing too much on the egg. Does seem to be kind of I'm seeing some kind of consensus around like, let's keep this more lightweight and fun, at least initially. That seems to be more in keeping with the culture here. What else? I think the alienating thing, Gene, that you're saying is kind of fits into the no gatekeeping thing, but it's a little bit different. It's like that's like gatekeep. It's not gatekeeping. It's just like turning people off, right? Yeah. Other thoughts, Manu? Do you have any thoughts? Maybe you've got other stuff you're working on simultaneously, but I just want to make sure your voice is heard if you've got something on this.
Yeah, I'd like to say I was thinking, just from having a couple of onboarding meetings earlier today, it's that definitely one size fits all is not going to work. So having like 4 profiles of like newcomers that we can either choose from and use that in our onboarding, or like give some questions to ask the people which type of onboarding they would like to perform. And also, that just reminds me, like, I think there's 4 different types of communication. There are 4 different types of people in terms of how they communicate and how they receive communication. And I had learned earlier there's also 4 types of people in terms of self-leadership and how they approach situations. So perhaps like incorporating this into our onboarding in a way, like, okay, there's gonna be 4 different types of, like, some people, just like some people, how some people are visual, other people are more like um, kinesthetic, or there's just different types of. So yeah, I just think that providing an avenue for that would be interesting, and I don't know yet how, but it's just something to think of.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on this topic? Because the next steps on this are that going back to the input that you all just did for the Fig Jam, is we're going to try to take, that will be like the source of the content, like the kinds of things that we want people to know when they first join, and then what we're talking about here is then how do we kind of like assess that? What's the right way to kind of assess that? As far as next steps, last week Vibe was saying that he is actually looking for a project that he can use for this class he's teaching on bots. And so I'm hoping that we could actually use this to kind of piggyback on that and get some of his development attention on this. I don't know how the timing is going to work though. And then the other thing is that the Writers Guild can definitely help with like making the content, like the way that we write this stuff, like just really clean and clear. And so that may be a project that we take to them. I've already mentioned it to them, and some of them are psyched about that. So it's really more about timing and like coordinating all this if we're going to try to make this work. But I think the first step is answering this question about the culture. Like that's just so important, because this could really turn people off if we're not careful, and it could have lasting kind of long-term negative effects, like this thing about robbing people of their, like if we really made this like, hey, you get 500 TEC for answering this question, like that will invite a whole world of hurt for us down the road, right? So maybe it's just like a POAP that doesn't have any value at all. It's really just like it's just a sign. So Lydia, that actually, I think that's one of the key insights I think we really need to keep in mind on this. Okay, so any other, I'm going to do the famous Edu countdown thing, but I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to count down to 10 if there's anything else on this. And if not, we're going to end this early.
Maybe a small perspective thing on that. You mentioned distributing TEC for it, and I know it's tongue-in-cheek, but in a small way, it might be beneficial in terms of distributing the token to a wider audience, maybe a very, very small amount or something along those lines, but there's something to be said for distribution or spread of awareness of the token, and almost like a marketing effect, but not necessarily. Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like an airdrop. Like it's not an airdrop, but it's kind of has the similar effect of like building buy-in.
Yes.
Yeah. Or like you could decide later on that like, ooh, we're gonna do a little airdrop to all the people who have this like quiz pal app.
Precisely.
And like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Just getting these notes here. Okay, the countdown. 10, 9, 8.
I guess I'll throw in a question.
Okay.
Is the quizbot going to be about the Token Engineering Commons community? About token engineering?
Well, we were originally thinking that it's more about the TEC itself as kind of the welcoming into the community. But one of the things that I did talk to Angela about is that like whatever we're doing here could have life beyond this, right? Like this might be just the test, and so they may be able to use that too for some kind of lightweight quizzes as kind of welcoming type things. Edu and I were also talking about like maybe this can be the handoff thing for, once you've selected, let's say, your interest. Let's say that you say, oh, I'm interested in writing, or I'm interested in governance, or whatever it is, that we hand you over to a working group version of this, right? Which is a kind of a fun, ask like some similar fun questions, right? That are really aimed more at kind of like teaching you about the working group rather than like gatekeeping you. And so, ask you some questions, it gives you some answers. There's no wrong answers. And at the end, it plops you into the working group. It's like, hey, here's the working group. You can So we've been thinking about this more as like kind of dual track like two different technologies. One is like a lightweight bots that are more fun, but that they to go to, who was it that said this? I think it was Eugene who was talking about this going deeper and deeper, that there might be something that's off of Discord that is maybe more like the proof of competence kind of thing, or maybe like the Gitcoin what's it called, quests. But to answer your question, we were thinking that originally it's just about the TEC culture and the kind of what is the TEC, but that the technology could be used for all kinds of things down the road. Okay, so start to count down again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that means that you all get 7 minutes extra in your lives. Woo! So thank you for playing. Thanks for being here today. And I feel like there's some good stuff here, and we'll be able to use this for sure. So thanks, everybody.
Well
See you.
led, Gideon.
Thank